to Teachers Teaching Teachers. It's June 20th, 2012. So, a little chit-chat here. I'm kind of excited. Sometimes we have 1,000 different ideas and lots of things to do, and tonight we decided to focus in on one person, and that's Tommy Bateau, who was on our show. I was going to go back and check, Tommy, but I think a couple of years ago even.
Here's the first project that I did with my media studies classes, and I was really looking for a way for them not only to find out information about whatever subject it was they were interested in, but also find a way to kind of relate to it more and to compare it to other people that they're interested in.
But could you explain, they were to find two sources? They had to be different in some way. Could you just go over that one more time?
Yeah, they had to have at least two sources. This student had three, I think. And one of the sources had to be more kind of scientific, related to the bigger question. Like, for example, this student's question was on motherhood and what makes a good mother. And so she found one article that was, you know, kind of a psychological study, something like that. And then in addition to that, they had to find an article that had sort of a mass appeal, something that would make it interesting for an audience. So if they were to publish it in a magazine, that is what would pull the people in. And so she found an article, I think it was actually from a blog, on Brandy Norwood, who I think is a singer. I'm not really sure who it is, but it's some famous person.
Somewhere in the curriculum, I think, you know, starting in elementary, students have to have these opportunities to explore the news and to delve into those pieces that really intrigue them. So I think it's a great project.
Students get into it more, and a lot of times students who really don't participate in my normal classes will do these kind of projects because they know that other people are going to be looking at it. She asked me to write a letter of recommendation for colleges, and I included this in it. I said, oh, this was a great example of you know, her creating something that was research-based, but it also was very artistic and explored a lot of different ideas. And she ended up getting a scholarship based on it. And so I think just that aspect of Youth Voices, is that it's out there and other people can see it, is really important, and something that should be, you know, done more in school, I think. I want to take a look at the project that I did that was a real multimedia project. I wanted them to explore that concept that, you know, there are many different ways of looking at the same research question, and I wanted them to, you know, share what they found, all the different various ways that they learned about their question, and that there is no real yes or no answer. There's no, you know, oh, this is what robotics is all about. You know, you can only really say, well, this is what this person thought about robotics, but then this person thinks this. And so I don't know, I think that's just part of my personal philosophy and the way I approach things. But the only thing that I would change is I didn't get in MLA citations or anything, and that's part of the Colorado standard. So next year, in the reflection itself, I would have them cite, and so we can meet that part of the standards. That I would make it a requirement that they're, you know, maybe 5 minutes long max, something like that. And then you would have more, because you would have a little bit tighter control on what was going into the actual video. You would have more focus also on why they were including that particular clip, and so it would be a little bit more related to the research aspect of it too.
So it's not just that they're not citing the sources, it's that they're using the sources in ways that we haven't taught them to use before.
But I like the concept. I think it's, and I really think it's the way, you know, it's the way media works now. So much of media is a compilation of different ideas, and you know, gathering information in that way is a valid part of the world. I mean, my daughter is 2 years old, and you know, the way she goes on my smartphone with the videos of Sesame Street clips is amazing. So I just think that students today are so used to looking at the world in that way, that if we can figure out some way to start harnessing that and start showing that that is a valid way of approaching the world and of learning about the world, it's going to be to everyone's advantage.
Tommy, what was your criteria for the students as far as, and I use the term grading loosely, but like how are they graded? I mean,
but generally what I do is I have them do a first draft and then a peer review, which is another reason I like Youth Voices. I've got, if we have time, I'll show you a podcasting project I did, not on Youth Voices, but similar type concept. And then after the peer review, a final draft. And so normally my grades are based on improvement from the rough draft to the final draft, and then they have to meet certain criteria. Like in the research, they have to have a citation, and whatever the criteria is. So that's kind of the way I approach it. I find it's the easiest for me to do and the easiest for them to feel like if they're improving, they're going to get a good grade,
No, I understand. And what is effective research? It's not pumping out a 4 to 5 page paper. And I really like what I'm seeing with what you did here with Youth Voices, and it's just kind of cementing a lot of things with what I want to do with my kids next year.
Yeah, that's a tough question, because a lot of the students that get involved in these technology and movie type projects, if I did a 4 to 5 page paper, they wouldn't turn in anything.
Right.
And so I don't know. I struggle with that, because I agree that it's an important thing, but I know for some of my students that's not going to help them. So I haven't figured out the exact way to do it perfectly yet, but I'm going to keep trying until I do find out a great way. A lot of times in classes like that, we're on computers all the time. You'll look around and people will be doing whatever. But when we were doing this project in the last few weeks of the school year, there were times when I would, leave the room to go download something for somebody, and I would come back and the whole room would be silent, and people were totally focused on, trying to incorporate their videos and get their point across. So I was really impressed with how much the technology just made them get into it. So I'm definitely going to do it again next year.
But I think about the audience that Youth Voices affords is a different kind of thing, and I think there's some kind of thing in them constructing their knowledge, whether it's cobbling together a lot of different sources or media that's, the technology allows that, but there's some deeper things that's kind of happening that makes it a more powerful thing, and partly it's that students can construct their knowledge from the media that they know.
Is how do you deal with bumping up against controversial issues? Have you gotten yourself in trouble around things like that?
Yeah, I have, and it's just a risk you take, and with some, especially with the Google Docs and everything that's connected to Google, I kind of am in control because it's not out on the it's on the internet, but it's restricted to our school. But when you do Youth Voices or, create a wiki or publish on BookDrum or put, movies that they made from media studies up on YouTube, you have to be aware of that. And I haven't gotten into any trouble or anything, but my district has made it very clear that they're, a little worried about that.
Yeah. So how you're working with other teachers and so forth is an interesting question to go to also. But maybe we could find some of that on your blog. Can you say
Sure.
your blog's name again?
Yeah, I have two right now. One is the one that I've been keeping for a long time, called Cyb English, cybenglish.blogspot.com. And that one I include a lot of different stuff. I put up, videos that I've seen that I think relate to education, and so it has all the projects that I've been doing at Windsor. And there are other ones. I did a whole project on gender studies with Clogster, and I did a character analysis with Storybird, and I did some really cool project with making movies for my media studies class. That one was great. The students really loved that one. So those are all on the blog. You can check those out.
Great ending. We do have to end here, I'm afraid. So thank you all for hanging out with us, and Tommy, thank you so much for sharing some of your work. We have been talking here over the edtechtalk.com channel of the World Bridges Network, and we want to thank Dave Cormier and Jeff Lebo for that.